There's a lot that attracted me to this role, which is why I said yes immediately. Um, and I think that there are things in this part that I didn't even fully explore. I could have played this many times over and done it a little bit differently each time, and none of the versions would be better than the other. Um, I think when writing is really strong like that, as it is in this and in almost all of Kenny's work, that it sort of creates that kind of complexity that is that like so that it can be done over and over as plays are. There are different productions over and over, and they are all good and all different. And that's how I felt about this. I was sort of overwhelming to think about all the different ways that it could be played. That said, there was through the conversations that I had with Kenny, which were long and happened often. Um, there were certain guiding lights of direction that we would just start to follow that sort of took us down a path. And I guess by that I mean that we decided that he's holding on to all of it. That the story works best if the character is not letting out very much. That the only way that he survives is by holding on to it, and that includes the guilt. He feels responsible for the death of his children, and so he's not going to let himself off the hook, and letting himself. To sit around and cry and feel bad for yourself is a way of letting yourself off the hook, and it's a release. So we decided that he would just be very pent up, and so how does some character like that get through the day? Well, they just don't relax very much, but they tend to just think about the thing that's right in front of their face and dealing with that. His job, whatever's required of him, being very task oriented, moving through the day that way, never wanting to sort of think about his past or talk about his feelings. When you work with someone like Kenny, there's no second guessing them. He had great ideas. No matter how hard I worked the night before to show up on set, thinking of the 5 different ways that I could play this or interpret the scene, and got myself as sort of authentically, emotionally involved as I could be. Kenny still had 5 better ideas than I did. He's you just got to play for the coach, because otherwise you're sort of playing for yourself. So I that's usually my approach on any movie, but in the case of working with someone who wrote such a beautiful script and has directed 2 other amazing movies, I really just blocked out any other noise and just tried to focus on what Kenny wanted. How do I get the best out of a collaborative acting experience? Well, by working with good people. I don't know. No, that's not a good answer. I guess you get the best out of it by being open to receiving what the other person is doing. There are no good actors, bad actors really. They're just the sort of what the other person is doing, and if you're able to listen to them and respond, and also stick to the path. It's a balance between sort of staying to the charted course there, but also just sort of reacting to the thing that is unpredictable that's happening in front of you. Oh, maybe my kids, I guess, are the biggest influence on my career, meaning that well, sometimes they'll just tell me. I'll ask if I can't decide what job to do. I'll ask them and talk, and they always have very good practical advice. I think that my ex-wife gave me every good acting idea I ever had, so she had a big influence on me, and my also sort of like you become a much more sensitive person and you care about different things when you become a parent, I think, mostly. And so you sort of, I stopped liking doing like really violent movies and like playing those kinds of parts, or, if there were part of movies that I think weren't handled responsibly, in some way, I was more sensitive to that. And thought about the jobs that I was a part of in terms of what sort of message or idea of me that I was leaving behind for them. And so before I had kids, I really was just, I'd do this thing if I felt like it. I made my choices much more carelessly and casually. And now I think about the jobs that I take in different ways.